Hi, welcome to Family Business, Episode 6. I'm Dr. Mary Wansley, and this is my son Dylan.
Hi, I'm Dylan Stever. It's a pleasure to be here. So start off with a deep breath.
Go for it.
Oh, I'm doing it this time?
You're doing it this time.
Okay. First, let's start out taking a big inhale into your lungs through your nose. About 4 or 5 seconds. Now, as you get to the top of your breath, I want you to hold for 2 or 3 seconds. And now we're at that mark. Now let's start letting out all the air through your mouth. Let's do a slow exhale for 5 seconds. 2, 3. Now I want you to do that one more time. So let's take a nice deep inhale, 3 or 4 seconds. Now as you're at the top, hold for 2 or 3 seconds. And then let's exhale for another 4. Through the lungs, out the mouth. And then we're going to do one more, but we're going to do it fast this time. So we're going to go into the lungs, fast, keep it up. Now we're going to hold 4 seconds. And then as we exhale, we're going to exhale fast. Now exhale. And there we are. Is that nice?
That was very nice. I like it when you do it.
Yeah, I like it. I remember learning that one. And it was this is something I can utilize. Any moment that I feel stressed or I feel nervous or I just feel like I need a second to myself. That's something. And I remember this feeling about doing it around other people, and I started getting this feeling of these people think I'm crazy, and I don't know. I was like, well, but they don't know what I'm doing. They don't understand the power that I'm harnessing within myself.
How'd you learn to do that?
I learned that in wilderness, which actually is something that we're going to get into today. So I think last week we ended around the spot of me after freshman year of high school, and I was playing a bunch of video games, and I had this idea in my mind that I no longer wanted to be anything near a professional skier or the like, and I wanted to be a professional in video games, and so this was 2016, around in the months from January to about May, and things were not going well at home with my dad. He couldn't get a hold of me. I was staying up late, sleeping, wanting to sleep in, going to school, very tired, not doing well in school. I think I failed history class or geography class, and so he was like, "This is bad. This is really, really bad." And there got to a point where, actually, it was crazy. I remember you called me and you're like, "Do you remember this?" You called me and you told me that you
Oh, I do remember
did something
this.
that I don't think my dad even knows to this day, that you did this. And you called me up and you were crying and you said, "I'm going to send you a taxi on this day. You just got to get into the taxi and then it'll take you to the airport and you're going to fly to California."
What I said was, because I was not 100% in on the wilderness idea, I said to you, if I call you and tell you to get in a taxi, you're going to go to Eagle Airport and you're going to get on the plane and you're going to fly to LA. If I tell you to do that, don't even ask why, just do it.
Yeah, but I remember you telling me this and I'm like, what the heck is she talking about? This lady's crazy. This is my crazy mom just telling me to get into a taxi on a random
Crazy
day.
mom.
Well, I know, but this is what I'm hearing on the phone. I'm like, get into a taxi, and what, and I think that maybe there was some sense that something might be coming up, but I was I was kind of in disbelief. I was just naive to there even being something that would could alter the state of your life, the course of your life going forward for the rest of your life. That could be something positive, but also something I wasn't even aware or privy to. I never heard of it, and so kind of setting the stage is, wasn't doing very well in school. Finished the semester, did terrible. My classes, my grades were bad, and this is 2016 May, and I remember my dad being like, "Well, what do you think you're doing this summer?" Which is really, really messed up to ask me that. It's actually wrong, because
So
it's
he asked you what your plans were for the
yeah,
summer,
when
knowing we were sending you
yeah,
away?
yeah, pretty terrible. It's honestly really manipulative. It's very, and it kind of gave me this idea. Well, I'm just gonna. I remember like being like, "Well, I'm just gonna hang out," and I remember him being like, "Well, you're not just hanging out," and I'm like, well, "What is he gonna do about it?" You know, that's kind of was my thought. And so yeah, what? So it was like June 1st. It was like a Tuesday.
It was right after Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, so it was like June 1st.
Might have
I
been.
think it was like it was a Monday or Tuesday of that week, starting week of June, and I just finished school. I had some plans, and my dad took off the took out the Wi-Fi, like took it out and hid it, so I couldn't be playing video games. And he said, let's have some pizza and watch a movie together or something, hang out together. And I'm like thinking like this guy just wants to have some alone time and some bonding time, not knowing that what was going to happen the next day. And it was great. And he gave me a big hug before he went to bed. And I was like, okay. So then I remember going to sleep, and I was like, there's no Wi-Fi. I can't do anything. Didn't have anything downloaded or anything. So I just ended up going to sleep and listening. I remember I was listening to the Views album by Drake, and I was just listening to it on repeat as I was falling asleep. And
Can I pause and tell you something funny?
what?
I talked to your dad on the phone, and I wanted to come to Vail for this instance. And your dad said, no, 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 it'll be just too difficult if you're here. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to get a pizza and we're going to watch a movie. I said, oh, okay, what are you going to watch? And he said, Jailbreak. I said, seriously? Go ahead.
And yeah, so so I woke up. I think it was about 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And my dad comes in my room, and I'm still asleep, and he gets on top of the bed, gets like basically on me, and he's crying, and he's like, Dylan, I love you so much. I just want the best for you. And he's crying. And I just want the best for you, like da da da. And yeah, basically just profusely telling me that he loves me. Like he was just like, I love you, I love you. I'm doing this for the best of you. Like this is, and I'm like okay, like what's going on? And then I look up, and he walks out the door, and there's two guys just standing there, and they're giant, both 6'5", 6'6", huge guys. And I look, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And they're like, well,
But you were half asleep.
I was like half asleep, and they're like, well, we're taking you, and you'll know more information later. And I'm like, what do you mean you're taking me? Like, I was just in disbelief. And I get up, and I said, can I go to the bathroom? So I went to the bathroom, like watching me use the restroom. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I was like, okay. And then I went to go grab my phone, like, well, you're not going to be needing that. Which I found out later that I could have had my phone. It was not that big a deal. But they just didn't want to deal with it. But yeah, so then and I was like, let me grab, you know what I mean? And they're like, no, you're going with me. And then I was smart enough to know that, like, I wasn't going to jail or anything. So I was like, what the heck is about to go on? What is taking place now? And so basically this is what's called getting gooned. What's getting gooned is your parents, they hire a private transportation company for kids who they're sending the kid away to some sort of rehabilitation program that they feel like if the parent wanted to do it themselves, the kid would not listen to them and would just run away or make it very difficult.
Yes, they told us the likelihood you would actually go
Is
to the
very low,
program
yeah.
and we'd get you there is very low.
It's very low, and what kind of hell the parents would have to go through just to get the kid there.
Right.
And so basically, this is like a way to inadvertently do it. The parents do it themselves. It's by hiring somebody, which is it's just part of the process. I'm not the only one that this has happened to. There's tons of people that this happened to. It's not really talked about, I would say, in popular culture or anything. People know about it through like Paris Hilton going to rehabs and stuff. But so these guys, they basically like hold my arms and walk me to the car, and then we're driving, and I'm like, where are we going? They're like, well, we're going to like somewhere 6 hours away. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And they started driving. I'm like, well, if we're going this way, like you guys need to get off this exit and take like the shorter route, which is through a certain area.
Are you trying to give them directions?
Yeah, I was trying to give them directions because I was like, well, because what I was going to do is if they were going to go down the way that I wanted to go, I was going to jump out of the car. because it was
Oh,
20
really?
because it was 25 miles an hour in that part of the town, and then I was gonna run to my friend's house, to Jack's house. So, yeah, I was gonna
I
jump out the car.
never knew
I
that.
100% was gonna jump out the car. Um, and because it's like 20 miles an hour. So I would have jumped out of the car, run away. But then the cops would have got involved, and they would have found me, and then they would have just ended up taking me anyways.
So
That's
what
how it
ended up
works.
happening?
There's no way to escape this kind of situation when your parents already decide to do that, because a lot of the programs they have, the parents sign over their rights, the parent rights. What is it called? It's not. I don't know if it's necessarily custody, but they sign over for a period of time. Some of the programs get really complicated with this, with the signing over custody, because they'll be like, we'll sign over custody to this company that facilitates the rehabilitation for the kid, and the parents don't get the custody back until the place thinks that they're ready to go home, which is crazy. Like there's some weird stipulations in within these programs that I've heard
I don't
about.
recall us having that.
Not us, no, not us, but there is some like that. Especially if you get into the situation of court ordered stuff.
Oh,
If the
sure.
court orders you to the kid to go to rehab, they've done some really bad things, or first strike stuff. So yeah, but so continuing, they drove me. We drove 6 hours. I'm crying. I cried for most of it, and then I just ended up like, it's a long ride, just falling asleep. And we get to this small city in Colorado after a 6 hour ride, and these two kind of like hippie looking people, they pull up we pull up to these like two hippie looking people, and they're like, hey, well, we're going to tell you more information about everything, because these guys don't really know anything about, they're just like transportation people purely. They get paid to just
The goons know
transport.
very
Yeah,
little.
they know very little, and the less they know, because the less they don't really care. They're just getting paid to work together and drive you somewhere, and get you there. And a lot of my friends who I ended up meeting throughout this process, this happened to them too. So it's kind of like a rite of passage, to say the least. It's a weird rite of the passage. It is true though.
I believe you.
Because if you didn't get gooned and your parents just took you, you kind of look soft. You kind of look like you didn't really, you know what I mean? Not soft, but it's like you didn't get the full treatment. You didn't get the full experience. you know, like what's a nice dinner without dessert? What's a nice, without or at least without the hors d'oeuvre or something. But yeah, so or an entree or a starter, right? So yeah, okay. So then they dropped me off with these people, and they were nice people, really nice people. The goons, like, they just don't care. They don't really care about you. They're just doing a job and getting paid for that.
So
But
you
the
get
people,
dropped off.
so the people, yeah, and then we ended up going. They're like, let's go get something to eat, because and I'm thinking like we go to this like a little like kind of Chipotle kind of restaurant, not Chipotle, but just like a burrito bowl or something. And I'm eating a little bit, and they're like, oh, you're not gonna eat anymore? I was like, no, I'll just eat more like later. I'm not really worried about it. That was the last time I was going to be eating anything from a restaurant for 85 days. Yeah, and so, and I didn't know that, of course, but yeah, and so they took me to this place, and I'm crying and I'm sad, and I was just so distraught. I was so upset. I was in disbelief that my dad would, basically how I felt is that he didn't care about me, like that he, that he wasn't going to let me carry out how I wanted to live my life from that point on, and that he was going to step in and make a grand effort to alter the course of my life by exposing me to a different world, which is just nature. He basically forced nature on me, and being outdoors and hiking and working on yourself, working about your issues, your mental health, dealing with all these things, and how I impacted him, how he impacted me, both of you, how I impacted both of you. And I mean, at this point in my life, was doing no drugs. I didn't drink or anything. I mean, I got drunk one time before this period, and but other than that, I really I really didn't have a reason. Like, a lot of people go to these things because they're like doing drugs, and that's why their parents sent them away. And like the only reason was, I guess, was video games. Me playing a bunch of video games,
That was
and
it.
checking out from life, and not being completely there, and not doing well in school, doing all these things, and being very difficult
You were
for my dad.
consumed. You were
Yeah,
absolutely
completely.
consumed.
And both you and my dad are people that Like they like to see somebody, like they see me like doing stuff actively with my life, and doing something that contributes towards the benefit of me. And you saw it as a thing it was being destructive towards me. It was a destructive pattern that it was showing that I was going to continue down this path was going to make my life very difficult. And um, and I recognize that, and I see where they're coming from.
Can I talk about what happened a month before you left?
Um, yeah, we can talk about that. That's fine.
So a month before you left, about a month before, your dad was gone on a trip to California, and I was with you, and I couldn't get you to stop gaming, so I unhooked the router.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I grabbed
then
it
I
and I
went
pulled
next.
it out of your arms on the ground. We went
Okay,
on the ground and I pulled it out of your arms and it wasn't anything else. And then you called the police, and then
then
the
I went
police,
next door, called the police, and the police came.
yeah, the police came and they're like, they did some scare tactic BS, and then that was it.
And I called your dad, and he said I'll be home tomorrow. He flew back the next day, and then you went to school, and then we started plotting what was going to happen. Your dad started doing the research. So back to you've arrived at the wilderness at Open Sky, and then what happened that day? I know you got a physical. Then they
Oh
gave you
yeah,
what
they
you
did. I think
needed.
they did a physical. Yeah, it was much of a physical. This lady just came in like, yeah, okay,
Remember that they
yeah,
told you that if you wanted to eat, you had to make a spoon. You couldn't make a knife or a fork.
that is further into it. Yeah,
Okay.
but so then, yeah, basically they took all my clothes. They gave me a whole set of new clothes, and there were all these yellow T-shirts, and this like tarp bag that they like put all my stuff in, and all like brand new gear. And basically, they just took me out to these like they're called guides, and there was like three people, and there was three kids, and you just basically hang out with them, and like that's what I did the first day, and I'm just sitting there like, what's going on, crying, and only one of the kids can talk to you because you're like, he's your mentor. And yeah, I mean it's a much larger thing that we can talk about later, about the whole wilderness process, but that's kind of the lead up that to create some interest around it. But that ended up being a great summer. I really learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about other people and other kids' issues, and knowing that I wasn't alone in the process was really important. And the guides were phenomenal. The people that I worked with were all around like A plus people that really wanted to see the kids benefit from the program. And I mean, we were just hiking every day. You just hike, and you learned how to make fire with sticks, and you end up having a really good time. Like a
You learned to make
really
your own food,
make your own food.
set up your
Yeah,
tarp.
everything. There's so many positives of it. I really don't see any negative of it. I really don't. When I look back, there was nothing negative besides the fact that I wasn't able to see you guys halfway through. Most people are able to. I didn't get with the program for the first couple weeks, and that kind of stunted my ability to move further. In like they had different phases there, and that kind of hurt my ability to progress in the way that they want you to, because they want you to basically be there for like 4 or 5 weeks, and then the parents come, and that kind of gives you like this fuel of like finishing out strong, because it's like you reconnect with your parents, everything's amazing, and then you're riding out that high until you finish, right? So you ideally want to go for like 8 weeks. I think that's what they want. It's like 8 weeks, so 2 months. Um, but I ended up taking another. I was there for like 9 weeks, I think.
You were, and they
Yeah,
don't tell the
9 or 10 weeks.
parents, or they don't. And
11 weeks. How many weeks was there?
3 months.
Yeah, I don't know. It was 85 days. So yeah, I think I got out 21st of August.
They don't tell the parents, and they
Yeah.
don't tell you when you're getting out.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of people. There was a kid that came in. He know what to do. He'd already been going into other programs and stuff, and he came in. He did it like in 8 weeks, 7 weeks or something. He was in and out. Like he was in. He accepted his stuff. He moved far in the program. He, you know what I mean, was very mature about it. He was actually my mentee. He came in while I was there, or yeah, he's my mentee. He came in, and while I was there, he came in like weeks after me, and then left a couple weeks before me.
So you had to reach certain milestones.
Yeah, you had to reach certain milestones, and you just had to show progress and that you're starting to get it and starting to take responsibility and be accountable for what was going on in your life and the reason why your parents sent you there. Um, there was some people there. There was a kid there that like didn't do anything, literally just didn't do anything, and he was still sent there. So there's yeah, he did some things, but he was a very quiet, like, you know what I mean? He wouldn't hurt a fly kind of kid, and he still was there. And there's people that have been to these programs that don't do anything, and their parents send them there because, I don't know, there's more issues with the parents and the kids, to be honest with you. And that goes into a huge, huge issue with these programs that the programs can't really do anything about. And they try to include the parents on these calls every week, and you join the call and you talk to these. Basically, they have these like there's a head therapist, and then there's multiple therapists under them that kind of all go to the different groups, and they talk to these groups and stuff. And the parents kind of stay involved through that, and they get photos online, and there's a bunch of different. There's a whole method to basically keep everyone involved, but the reality is the parents got to keep paying the bills. They got to keep living their lives, and the issue that I had with the whole thing is that as this time I was doing so much progression in myself and learning about myself and becoming more mature. And at the same time, my dad, who I had the most issues with, he wasn't really progressing in his life. He wasn't really taking accountability for his parts in it all. And that, when I got out, I recognized that. And that was very difficult for me. It was like, here, I've done all this work. And now it's back to square one with him because he really didn't make any changes. He's no different than it was before. Only I've changed. But I still have to deal with him, and
Well, to his credit, he did come to the parents' weekend. I did feel frustrated with him because on Monday nights we had this meditation call, which was amazing. And he traveled that whole summer, and I would say, wherever he was, text him, get on the call, get on the
yeah,
call. The call is great. He did it one or two times, but it was really beneficial.
yeah.
The way that they taught us to meditate and stay connected and have support from
No,
other
they were
parents.
trying to do their best, and it's really hard. But part of me thinks that the parents should have done it, their own like intensive thing as well on top of
That's
it.
true. We did
Be-
do an intensive weekend.
yeah, but you didn't like. But the parents really, I feel like a lot of kids go to these programs and they change a lot, but the parents kind of stay stagnant.
So what you're saying is it's really important for parents to
To
make progress.
to make progress as well, just like to make as much effort as they can. And I feel like it's easy to kind of, for my dad, like as you said, he was traveling and stuff. It was like really disingenuous to all the hard work that I was putting in for him to just be doing that kind of stuff, by just traveling and hanging out and which was tough, but it is what it is. So yeah, then after this, I graduated. It was amazing, like that high of graduating the program, and then finding out I was going to an aftercare. So the program I went to, the wilderness program, is called Open Sky. It's closed now, sadly. Yeah, it's closed, which is really disappointing. There were some really great people there. All my guys were phenomenal. All the kids that great relationships with all the kids. I really haven't stayed connected with any of them. But then I went to a real rehab after this, which was it's kind of like a 9-month program you do. So basically it's like a year program of rehabilitation.
Therapeutic boarding school.
Yeah, therapeutic boarding school rehabilitation. And the one thing about all these programs is they don't, I mean, at least at this time, there was no like technology based like internet addiction stuff like video games or shopping or, you know what I mean, like social media. I don't even know what else, like kind of program like oriented that towards that, like groups oriented towards that. So you're basically around a bunch of kids who are delinquents that are doing drugs, selling drugs, getting in like fights, like that are fighting a lot, that have been to like different rehabs and stuff. So when you throw a kid like me who was pretty much,
Never tried drugs or
I mean, I tried to smoke my dad's weed at one point, but that's like that's not real. I didn't get high or anything. But you put a kid who's only played video games and with kids who are doing hard drugs like heroin and meth and stuff, and I was only 15 years old, and these people were 18 years old in the same group in the same facility. Then you start to get exposed to things that you would never have gotten exposed to ever
Oh,
on
so
that track.
you're saying you got exposed to other ideas for
Yeah.
checking out
Yeah, so you
drugs.
basically, so I got exposed. I got basically the starter kit of information on
Well, that could lead you to say, no, I don't ever want to do that because look how these kids
no,
have ended
absolutely
up.
not. I
Or
was like this is awesome. Like this is some great information. Like I can't wait to get involved in this kind of stuff. That's how I saw it
really,
because yeah, because my friend he like explained how smoking weed works, like taking dabs, like all these kind of like things that I didn't know. I started learning about all these drugs, and I was like super interested in all of it. It was very interesting to me. It was very interesting. It's like there's a whole world outside of video games where you can just live your life and like check out and make friends doing this stuff. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like this is interesting. So you basically I got exposed to all this stuff, and I mean the rehab was the staff the some of the staff was great, some of the staff wasn't. I mean, this is in a Mormon part of Utah. Nothing like really against Mormons, are super nice people, but just like that's kind of the staff. We're all Mormon. Besides like the younger staff that we did activities with. There's I still have friends from this place to this day and great people I met, but a lot of the
so that
people,
sounded attractive to you. That sounded like something you wanted to try and
especially
do.
weed. I mean, when I'm talking about is
Okay,
weed and like
but the
psychedelics.
wilderness program, there was one guide per two people, so you probably weren't exposed to what as much of what other people had tried
Oh yeah,
and
you're still exposed
experimented
to it.
with.
Like
Oh, you were
my
okay.
mentor was like a was doing ketamine and like doing drugs and stuff. Like
Well, did it that at that point sound attractive to you?
no,
No,
no.
but it was a
Then once you start, because during the entire wilderness program process, you're not allowed to speak unless a guide can hear you. It's called earshot. So
right.
unless a guide is within you, within 10 feet, you're not allowed to speak, or else you get in trouble, and you have to be quiet for like an hour or something. There's like different rules and stuff.
So talk a little bit more about what happened when you were at Oakley, the boarding school you went to, the therapeutic boarding
Um,
school, and then
so yeah, I mean, it was like I had a great therapist. I love my therapist because she actually stood up for me against you and my dad. And we had a call every week, like every Wednesday for like an hour. And we talked on the phone with the therapist and my dad and you. And basically did that for like 9 months. I was there in Utah. The weekends were great. We had activities that we could. The activities are great. Staff is pretty decent, as I said. Um, and there was a school like you actually get an education. I was able to leave for Thanksgiving. I left for Thanksgiving. I left for Christmas break. I left for spring break. I think that was it.
and I believe fall
I think I
break.
left. No, I think I left for Martin Luther King. Um,
I think you did. They wouldn't let you go to Vail. You came to LA every time.
no, I went to Vail
Hmm.
for
Okay.
Christmas break.
Oh, that might
Um,
have been true. Okay.
yeah, I don't know. They didn't want me going there. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I had to go see my grandmother in Wisconsin and stuff. But yeah, so I took there was certain breaks that I took, and which was really nice to kind of get out of there and see my family and see you and stuff and see my grandmother and um, yeah, it was like 9 months. It was a tough it was a long process. And I learned because in the first program I was pretty slow, and you get certain perks when you move up in the program. But at this boarding school at Oakley, I moved up in every single one of my phases. It takes you have to be there for this amount of time, then you can apply to get up to be processed and moved up to the next program. And I had to keep doing that you have to do that like the first program takes you like from when you get there, which is like what is it? I don't even remember the ascent. To get from like
Ascent.
ascent, you had to I don't know. I don't know if it was ascent. I don't remember what it's called. There was like seven phases, and the first one is like you can like stay up. You can like I don't even remember what it was, but basically once you get to the higher phases, then you start getting real perks. You get like
What's an example of a real
a real
perk?
perk is like being able to stay up. Like the people that are just getting there, they have to go to sleep. They have to be in their rooms like 9 or something, or 9 to 10 or something. And if you're on the higher level, then you can stay up till 11. And if you're on a higher level, you can get a job. You can even I think you if people have had a car there before, because you need a
You
job or
used to get
car.
phone privileges.
And then you get a phone privilege at the first high level. You get your phone on the weekends, just on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get it from like the afternoon to like 9 o'clock at night. Then you have to turn it in, and then it goes into every day after school, and then it goes to all the time. Then you just have a phone on you all the time, so it doesn't matter. And it took
You
me,
made really good grades. You did well.
I did, yeah, it took me like 5 months, and I got through the entire program. The rest of the time, I was just I had my phone. I was chilling, like I was, you know what I mean. I felt
But
like,
wouldn't you say that your brain detoxed from all the video gaming
yeah,
and
I
that
would say so because when I went home for spring break, I went back home for spring break, and I played video games every night the entire time I was there. I was just playing video games the entire time, and I remember, um, and I was so excited to get back into it, and I was doing it doing it every night, and then when I went home again, I never played again. Like when I went home 2 months later after spring break, I didn't even touch it. I didn't even touch
you
video
were
games
home one day and then the next day you were flying to Georgia?
for spring break.
Oh no, I was talking about when you got out of boarding
I'm not
school.
talking about that.
Okay.
But the whole program was great. The program was was shut down when I finished there in May of 2020 of 2016. 2017 the program shut down, which was like looking back, all those people lost their jobs, which is really sad. But we were all super happy because we did not like the program. Nobody really liked the program. Looking back, it was a great program. There was great people, but it sucked. You know what I mean? Like you want to be at home with your friends back in your state. Like none of us were from Utah. None of us want to be there. None of us are there for And there was 18-year-olds that went to it, but there's some issues and stuff. But
What would you say are the benefits of you having gone to the therapeutic boarding school?
there's not very many. I guess the climbing. I got climbing out of it. I never would have started climbing in the way that I did and taking it seriously. From that, if I didn't go to the boarding school, I wouldn't have been exposed to it in the way that I was. And
You don't think the
um,
therapy helped?
the
The
therapy, I didn't like I had the first therapist. She left. She was an incredible therapist. Still to this day, she was amazing. And then I got a new therapist, and she sided with my parents, and she made it a hell for me. And I tried to switch therapist, and then she made it even worse of a hell for me. She was a terrible therapist, awful therapist. I forget her name, but I would love to expose her. She was terrible. I'd like to expose a couple therapists, many therapists actually, because not all therapists are good, and not all therapists will have your best interests. And some therapists, yeah, there's some definitely, they think they're doing the right thing, but they don't know what they're doing and how much impact they can have somebody's life. Is very very upset with Tony Isaacson. He's out there, Tony Isaacson. What you tried to do to me and how you miscalculated my life is a crime. It's a crime, and the fact that you've done it towards other kids is wrong. And his sister Sarah Isaacson, poor, very very terrible, and I called them out. Um, yeah, and Colleen McGuffin, you as well. Don't know what you're doing. Anyone else?
Nicole McGuffin
Nicole, was that what it's like calling Nicole McGuffin? Yeah. Um,
lives
there's
in
some bad
Eagle
therapists
County.
out there.
She gave
Yeah.
us terrible advice. She was very
Bad
judgmental.
therapists. Yeah, bad therapists. Um, yeah, and that one from Oakley was named Amanda. I don't remember her last name. But love to expose these people. Okay, so continuing, I got out of the program. I was basically just coasting at the end there because like everyone knew they were losing their jobs from the program, and all the students were super excited to go home. Some kids they tried to go and like beat up my friend, and he ended up snitching on them, and they all got sent out. And all their parents were like, "What the hell are we gonna do?" They just let them hang out and go home. It was a crazy time. I could definitely talk about this more extent in the future. Um,
So getting out,
yeah, so then I got out, and then immediately there was stuff going on, seeing family, da da da, and then I started the first chance I could. I think it was I got out, and the second day, my buddy, my good friend, he's like, "Dude, let's hang out," and he had a bong and some weed, and that was like the first time, and we got so high, it was amazing, it was so much fun, and we got so stoned, and
you made the mistake of pocket dialing me while you
that
were
was not
stoned.
that time. That was not
Okay.
that time. That was later in the summer. But yeah, and this one kid we were with, he was pretty straight edge, and he started crying, and it was hilarious looking back.
So
Um,
right away, when you left therapeutic boarding school, you
Started smoking weed. I was like,
okay.
it was in my head like this is the route. Like this is the way to go. I started smoking weed, start doing drugs. Like
I
started
never knew
exposing my
that.
mind to that stuff, and then so
I knew
yeah.
you did it, But
But
I
yeah, no. So I started smoking weed, and then that's all I was trying to do is just smoke weed and get high and have fun. And um, it started off as just a fun thing you do. You know, you just do all the time, just high and don't care about life because you just get so obliterated. And then wasn't really interested in drinking. Never really was. Still not huge into it, but it was kind of like let's smoke weed. And then school started, so I did a whole summer of smoking weed um and then school started, and then the people I started hanging out with were people that wanted to smoke weed. So then, that happened. And yeah, so then basically I would say the next course of where we should go is probably where finishing high school. I didn't really like the people in my high school anymore. I just kind of like was kind of tired of them. Our whole class we had a great class, in junior year it was really really a lot of fun.
Junior year, you had a great year.
Yeah,
Senior year,
and
you
then
weren't
senior year,
connecting with people and you
no,
got a
senior
job.
year, senior year, somebody thought that I called the police on a party that got busted or something.
Right.
And because they like there was some thing where I was like, can I bring my friend? They're like, you can't bring him now. You can't even come. I was like, okay, I don't care. I was going to another thing. And the police got dialed, and some girl that was used to be friends with all these girls, she like it's called in Colorado, it's called safe to tell. You can like snitch on people. And she called. She was not invited to the party, and so she safe to tell the party. And
Never
so then
heard of Safe
all
to
the kids in my
Tell.
class they stopped. Like they didn't stop. I stopped. I was like, I'm not friends with any of these people. Like some of them thought that I was gonna call the police on the party. It's like crazy to me, because in my mind it's like if you know who I am, then you would know I would never do something like that. It's not who I am. And I basically just removed myself from the whole class. And to a certain point, I was like, I got a job. I was like, I gotta do something else. So I started working, doing ski tuning and ski tech, not tuning, but ski tech, fitting people's boots, skis, and stuff, which is fun. I'm glad I did that. And then from there, the school semester kept going, and then towards graduation. Oh yeah, that's when I had the first, as I was addicted to psychedelics during that year of 2018. I was doing psychedelics all the time, and I was pushing my brain further than it should go. And then I had a mental breakdown using psilocybin at a festival, and ended up running through downtown Denver, and just being like, yeah. So yeah, I would say that's kind of I was
You had a mental breakdown.
I was like I just like had a point where I was like, um I I'm going to something's going to happen to my brain, like I'm going to go crazy or something. Near psychosis, which has been people have debated it with people, or a state that is some sort of, I don't know, something where my brain was going to continue putting me in a like reverse state. I don't know how to explain it, but how I would say it was the best word I would use, psychosis. And that's what ended up happening is my overuse of psychedelics during this period of time of 2018 caused me to basically process the world in a way that I didn't feel like I was there. The world was just going by me, and I was just kind of hiding from it mentally. I was kind of just not I was not mentally in the driver's seat.
This is so
If that makes
shocking to
sense.
hear because I had no idea
Yeah,
this
so
was
this
going
happened in
on.
2018. I noticed it was going to start happening, and I remember sitting at the table at my dad's house, and like being like, I'm losing my mind. and and so I stopped. I stopped doing any psychedelics. I tried to quit smoking weed near that time in January of 2019, and then started smoking again, and then just kept smoking. Graduated, was awful. I hated graduation, high school graduation. Didn't want to be around anybody in my class. Da da da. And then I thought I'd be turning a new leaf, and when I got accepted to Boulder during senior year, during my senior year, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop smoking. I'm gonna make new friends. I'm gonna do this stuff, and I didn't have the systems in place to stop smoking. When I look back on it, I had this kind of expectation that I could do it, but there wasn't really an ability for me to do it because I didn't have a plan in place. I didn't have the systems in place, and I didn't have a support system around me that was going
Your
to help me.
your dad and I did not realize how severe the problem was.
It's not that it was a problem with marijuana. It was the fact that I was allowing marijuana to take over my life and be something that was a vice and allowed me justifying not living up to my potential and not working hard in
But
my
don't you
education
think
to
it
meeting people. And this is also sinks into the psychosis that I was going through, or
but don't you
the
think
altered
when a
mind state of not being in the driver's seat. I
okay,
was just I
but
was
it's
just
addictive.
surviving.
Weed or marijuana is addictive. So
Yeah, the
it had
psychological addiction to marijuana is
the
profound.
physical, psychological,
I mean,
emotional,
physical
mental.
is nowhere near other drugs, but there is a physical. There's sleep. If you, I mean, I was relying on it for sleep. That was kind of how I justified it. I mean, I was a medical marijuana patient. Like I was buying it legally. This is not like I was buying it legally in high school. Um, and my dad was like blown away that I was legally buying marijuana. He's like, "What are you gonna do with the cops?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I have a
So you didn't
license."
do well. You
So
dropped out of your
I didn't
classes.
do well. I dropped my classes, failed the microeconomics, just did terrible in my freshman year. And I was like, I need to take a step back. So I decided to take the next semester off.
That's not what happened.
I decided to take the next semester off, and then my dad said, "That's not happening. I don't know what you think you're doing." And then you guys tried to have an intervention and
We had
send
an
me.
intervention. We didn't
Well,
try to have one.
yeah, but I
We
walked
had
out.
an
Yeah, but
intervention.
I walked out. I did not
You
sit
did.
down. I did not sit down and
You
listen to
did.
you. That's why I said try. And
Okay,
you had a
that is
bunch of
correct.
people. You had a bunch of people in my life that you had people in my life that care about me, but it wasn't like my friends. And I told you that, and I still stand by that to this day. If you had my actual friends who are my age sit there around me, then I would have had a conversation that day. But because you had adults who were out of touch with what was going on with me, I didn't buy into it, and I ended up living the rest of that time period with my friend's parents for 4 or 5 months, working and shoveling roofs. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of boring stuff, I guess. I mean, it's the truth, but basically that intervention was like, I think it was a seed that like I was like it's not for me, but I didn't have the strength to quit.
And you didn't want to go to treatment, which
No,
we wanted you to go to
the
treatment.
treatment. You can't. This is something
You
that
can't make
this is
somebody
something
go. I do
you
understand
can't make
that.
somebody go, but you can't take somebody who has been to treatment when they're that young and go to treatment if they don't want to go. You know why? Because they know how to game the system. They know how to do just enough to get out of the system as quick as they can because they know what's on the other side.
Do you understand though? We didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, you didn't know what
And
else to do, but what else to do is just is help me get a job and live my life until I decide I actually want to get serious about getting an education. That's what you do, and you make me have incredibly large responsibilities. I start taking care of myself. That's what you do. But the way that we went about it was destructive, and I'm gonna kick you out on the street. I'm not gonna help you out. Just at least get your feet off feet off the ground and find a job or something. Like there was a like
the
I was willing to
problem
start
was
working.
getting worse and worse and worse. You were dabbing and it was getting worse.
That has nothing to do with it. What has to do, it doesn't matter how I was smoking weed. I was smoking weed. The problem is that I wasn't willing to step up to the plate of life.
That's
I was
true.
sitting I
That
was
was our
sitting on
best
deck.
idea. We were doing the best we could.
Yeah, you're doing the best you could, but I was sitting on deck, and you're trying to send me to a rehab when the entire time if I went to that rehab, I would have done it as quick, and I would have taken nothing away from it because I didn't want to, and I knew how to game the system because
Okay.
I'd been in rehab for a
right.
year of my life.
Well, maybe it
And
would
I
have been a
don't think
different type of rehab.
I don't think you understand. No, there is no different type of rehab. You can go back to the wilderness, but if I went back to the wilderness, I would have just loved it,
You
and
were
then I
going
would
to
have kept smoking weed
Hazelton
again.
in Minnesota.
Yeah,
But
and I
that's
still don't
beside
know
the
anything
point.
about it, but all I know is that I would have gamed the system. I would have done it as quick, and I would have never actually. I would have never actually subscribed to any of the doctrine that they had there. I would have
Okay.
completely
Well,
I
you
would have
didn't go,
completely
so you don't really
manipulated
know.
it in a way that it was like I could just get away with whatever I
You
had to do.
didn't go, so you don't really know.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, that's what I would have done, because
Okay.
that's where my mind was, and it would have, whatever it was quick enough for me to get out so I could keep smoking weed. That's what I would have
Okay.
done.
So
That's just
you
what,
love smoking weed that much.
yeah, I love smoking weed because I didn't have to deal with any of the, looking back on it, it's the fact that my father and I didn't have a relationship is a huge reason why I didn't smoke weed why I smoke so much weed, because I was in so much pain from the loss of having a father in my life, that the love of having a father. The more that I've been really thinking about it in order to talk about these on this podcast, is the loss of the connection and the love that I felt from my dad changing into a disciplinarian and no longer maintaining that fun part of who he is, who he was, is probably why I checked out so much. Subconsciously, I wasn't consciously, this was never a conscious thing. When I look back and I look at the patterns and I get home immediately from rehab and I'm so excited to be home. So I started smoking weed, and then my dad turns in again to this asshole, and he's very very difficult to deal with, especially when you're trying to just like I don't even know just in the smallest things. He was very difficult to deal with, and I started checking out from all the pain and all the difficulties that he was causing me, and I'm sure I was a huge part in it too, but he wasn't. You know what I mean? That part of him was dead. That part of him was gone, of being the fun dad. I mean, he killed it. He killed that part of himself, and it's never been like that ever since.
The times that I see you down or depressed, it usually has something to do with you not feeling your dad's love, and that
Yeah,
goes on
yeah,
still
exactly.
today.
Because when you map it out, he wasn't there that much when I was a kid. He was there on the weekends, but he wasn't there for the core of me developing. And the part that he
No, he
was
wasn't.
there was I was so fond of him and I was so happy and I was so excited, and he nurtured that. He nurtured that love and that excitement and that joy. And when I lived with him, he killed it. And the way he went about raising me was he killed that. He killed that part of himself, and he couldn't, he doesn't even know that to this day. It's really sad.
Well, he only learned what
His dad, yeah, I understand.
his dad how his dad parented. That's all he knew, and he had to step up to the plate and be a parent. When you were 10 years old, he was forced to stop traveling and step up to the plate and be a parent.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to do the best that he knew how,
He was.
but
He tried very hard.
he tried too hard. He tried too hard.
Well,
He still tries too hard. He doesn't. I mean, now he thinks he's not trying at all, but he did. He put emphasis into ways to raise a child that he overemphasized certain methods of raising a child. In that he, especially as a single father, it's one thing to have a partner in crime, like having someone else like you in his life, co-parenting at the same time, but that's not what it was. And so he took all the responsibility on his shoulders, and I think it was tough for him. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just trying to do his best, and
he
it was
was
very
trying to do his
difficult.
best.
But when you take someone who has nothing else to do besides do activities, I mean, of course you're gonna obsess about what every decision you make, and when you over obsess about things, it doesn't help.
Well, talk a
There's a
little bit
certain
about the relationship and how it's gotten better, because you have a better relationship with your dad today. You
Yeah,
had
because I know what to expect.
Okay.
Then I think I had this naive expectation that my dad was going to come back and be this fun guy again. Was going to be this person who
When you became an adult?
where everything. No, the reason why I was smoking weed is to tune that part of my brain down of complete loss.
So there was a lot of grief and loss that went on with you.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. I really was not aware of why you
Because
turned to marijuana.
he really never disciplined me when I was young. He really he just really didn't. And when you don't really discipline your child, they have this idea that they can get away with stuff, and then you basically take that away from them. I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself from the last episode, but it's like mapping it out again, and right now it's like it's apparent to me that I was using weed to push out this loss, this feeling of
So in some
yeah.
ways you must have felt abandoned.
I mean, I felt emotionally abandoned completely.
Emotionally abandoned.
Like there's no, like, my dad is there emotionally if he has to be, but he's not an emotional parent.
We can talk another time about why we laugh at abandonment.
Yeah.
It's really sad, but
But it's important that I look back on this kind of in this light and stuff. So I kind of want to continue with the weed and the psychosis stuff. So I was in college. I said, okay, I signed a contract with my dad. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get good grades. So I go to school where it's on Zoom, 2020, on Zoom, and I just ended up playing video games, smoking weed, and I dropped all my classes. And then he said, I'll give you one more chance. And I was still smoking weed, playing video games, dropped all my classes again. And then he was done. He was done. But I'd already signed a lease with my roommate, with my friend, and he was tied in. He couldn't get out of the lease. And so he ended up allowing me to go live with my friend, but he didn't help me with education. He didn't help me with anything else.
So
He
that's
just
when you
paid.
started door dashing.
So then I started
in the
door
fall of
dashing
2021.
with my ex girlfriend. We started door dashing and smoking weed, hanging out. And I asked him for Christmas only for one thing. I said, "Can you give me the opportunity to take one class? Let me take one class, and if I do well in the class, then I can get a chance to go back to school." And he said, okay. So yeah, so I got nothing for Christmas, birthday. My birthday's right next to right next to Christmas, so I got nothing. I got a chance to take one class. Funny enough, I took the class on cannabis science. So, but I passed the class with a B or something. It was difficult work. I worked my tail off
I remember.
to do that work.
I remember you working over Christmas.
Yeah, I worked in Georgia, and I was just working super hard, and I knew that this is my only way out. So yeah. Then I did well in the class, and I was able to go back to school. I still dropped some classes. Had a very large issue occur in this year 2022 of the summer after I finished my classes, and that I don't know how much I want to go into this, but I ended up getting into a fight with my friend because I'll talk about this another time. But I basically made some decisions that ended up getting me on probation, and I knew that from these decisions that I made, it was time to step up in life and take life seriously. And I didn't have any remaining chances left.
So
With
this
my
was the
dad.
spring of 2022
Yeah, the spring, the summer of 2022.
or summer of
And
2022.
on I told myself June 1st. I said I'm gonna quit, and I quit. I bought a bunch of nice marijuana products, smoked it all for a weekend with my friends, and then I finished off myself, and just cleaned up my pipes and stuff, put it away in a box. It's still sitting in the box. I still have the box, and that was like over 4 years ago, and I just basically started drinking sleepy time tea and just couldn't sleep for like a month or two. But I worked my tail off to complete the statistics course and started climbing. I replaced weed with climbing and started really. I mean, I was climbing already, but I really started climbing. It became who I was. I was a
So
climber.
June 1st of 2022 is when you stopped smoking weed. I'm so
Yeah,
proud of you.
yeah. But I just put it away. I didn't. I said maybe I'll smoke again one day, but I just put it away. I can't do this and pass the classes. So
So
then,
it's been over 4 years.
yeah, it's been over 4 years, and so yeah, it's crazy. It's been over 1,000 days. It's like weird to think about stuff like that. So then I continued this this process of, I mean, for weed, for me, it was just like, this is not going to help me be successful in life. All my friends still smoke weed to this day, but it's not for me. I didn't see myself go any further in life with it. I've seen a lot of things that have happened in my life that wouldn't have happened if I kept smoking. It's just not for me.
What
I think it can be
advice would you
done.
give people who smoke weed that perhaps they're close in age to you? What advice would you give them if they're even thinking about stopping?
Thing is you have to have a positive affirmation around it. So you stop smoking weed and you start looking at all the positives that come from it, and you like kind of write that down or mentally note, well, this thing and it kind of snowballs into this larger, oh wow, like I actually really enjoy this thing and I wasn't high. Oh wow.
Did you actually write this down?
um I don't think so, but I think I started noticing that because when you start smoking weed, it's like you have, this is something that I think a lot of people that smoke weed know, is you do something fun, like go to the movies, or I don't know, go play mini golf or something, and you're like, dude, I should have done this high. So then you start doing it high, and then you do everything high. Once you go back after smoking for years and years, and you go and play mini golf, and you're like, that was kind of fun. I wasn't even high. So it's kind of like when you start making those reconnections of I can do things sober, I can do things and still enjoy it sober, and you start and that starts kind of being a catalyst towards I can do a lot of things sober,
So you build
and
that
then
sober
and then it
muscle.
becomes the mentality of like, oh, I'll only smoke to go to sleep, and then once you get past that, I'll only smoke weed to go to sleep, and you break free from needing weed to go to bed, it becomes a very thing like I can sleep without this. I can regulate my body without this. You can still smoke weed, but it's using it as a coping mechanism for life and and helping you mask dealing with your emotions, dealing with the issues in your life, and it can be very powerful to kind of regain that like I'm capable of dealing with life and enjoying life, and I don't need to be high, and I haven't been high for so many years now that it's like I don't even think about it. It becomes some second nature that you don't even like just living life, doing things, going for a hike, going paddleboarding, whatever it is. Like you're not like I need to smoke weed to do this.
Would you say you are more involved in life
Yeah.
now than when you were smoking weed? Because in a lot of ways, maybe it holds you back from doing
Well,
things that you.
I would say I was more social with people when I was smoking weed because I think something has happened along the way with the psychosis stuff, and I've lost this confidence or the comfortability that I had within myself to just be myself and talk to people. That was on weed. When I was smoking weed, I didn't really ever consider it, and I think the anxiety that I had that I kind of pushed away if I ever was anxious or whatever, and just talking to random people, that I kind of pushed away with weed. Now I think through the process of being on probation for 2 years, I felt like I was in a box and I couldn't make any mistakes or else I would have had stuff that would have gone on my permanent record. Um, which it didn't because I did probation flawlessly, didn't get in trouble, nothing happens, and it was important. It was important that I stay and I stay in a narrow, straight line of go to school, see my friends. I can drink or whatever, but I'm not no longer smoking, and just enjoy life and climb and do stuff like that.
So it sounds like you began to associate stopping weed with a better life,
Mm-hmm.
with a healthier life, and you began to replace that with physical activity and being more engaged in life. But you realized that that was going to hold you back in life.
That was gonna hold me back, yeah. And
Okay.
I know like the myelination of my brain, like my brain hasn't fully developed, doesn't fully develop until you're 27, 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I mean it's pretty much too late. Like I should have not been smoking weed already, but I did, and I did damage to my brain. I can feel it. I know I have. I know that the connections in my brain, I've kind of fried some of them, even though you can say it's not scientifically like there's a lot of science that's going on in this world. But I can feel for myself that my brain is operating with the different capacities and with different understanding and connections that I have made, and the way that my brain works has completely been altered for the rest of my life due to my copious and overusage of marijuana.
Have you done any research on this? Is it because you can repair the brain?
You can't repair the brain, but what I'm saying is like
You
the
realize you've
way
done
that
some permanent
yeah,
damage.
and the permanent damage isn't necessarily bad. It's not like
How do
it
you
is.
how do
It
you
is what it
feel
is. You
it?
have to.
How do you feel the damage you've done in your brain?
When I was starting to smoke, I remember I would have these ideas and these connections and just feel like I was so quick and so responsive, and maybe it's like due to the neuroplasticity or something when you're younger, but my brain was just so to the point and so the way it would connect certain ideas and the way that it would um, put together information quickly. It feels like my brain now it puts together and it has these connections, but it's not like I was kind of like I was like freaking out and I had so much going on in my brain, maybe doing uh, to ADHD or to just being young and just being a man or whatever. Like there's things that can play into it. But my brain felt like it was just crowded with ideas and information and connections and relating information to other information. And when I started smoking weed, I feel like I remember like I have all these ideas, and then I would smoke, and then it would calm it down, and it would quiet it down. It was like it was tucking it to bed, and I was just putting it out. And I remember that every time. And I remember, and then I got to a certain point where I tucked it in, I took all those ideas and this like basically this ball of energy in my mind, and I kind of just kept putting it away and pushing it to the side, or not, not acknowledging it by, masking it with marijuana, that it kind of slowed down. And I feel like it's there, but to the way that it was, I think it would have been as prominent as it was this to this day if I wasn't quieting it down with marijuana.
You're
And
saying you think your mind would be sharper today if
not
you.
sharper, it would have been. I just think like those type of things you can't get back, like the connections of a young mind that's like hungry and ready to like, because that's how we have evolved, is we, we're trying to be successful, and for our, it's our nature to like to be strong, to be capable for a man, like um with evolution just in our minds and how they work. And I feel like I was quieting that down with marijuana. I wasn't medicating. There is ways that you can medicate with marijuana. Like you're supposed to, when you do smoke weed, you're supposed to smoke all of it at once. Terrence McKenna talks about this. You're supposed to smoke weed all at one time and smoke a ton of it, and then not do it for a long period of time. Like it's something that you do within a period of time. It's not something you do every day. Like
Can I just ask that you give advice, if you have some, to someone who hasn't tried weed, and what you would advise them to do, or someone who has
Well,
tried it and
I
wants to
remember there
stop?
was this girl. There was this girl. Since you're saying that, there was this girl in my freshman year of college, and she would like come to our dorm room because she was friends with my roommate's friends, and she thought it was cool, I guess, and she started talking to me because I was smoking weed, and she was just like very smart girl, and she never smoked or anything, and she's like, what about, like, tell me about like weed, tell me about all this stuff. And I remember just like kind of being checked out, like playing video games and like smoking weed and being high. And I was like, you should never do it. Don't ever smoke. Like, stay away from it, because how your mind functions, and how like I don't think I was like that strict, but I was like just keep what you have going. Whatever you have going is probably better than just incorporating this into your life now, because where you're going to be at in your life going forward is going to be further than if smoking copious amounts of weed. That's the truth. Like, weed doesn't really get the ball rolling further than it does, without it.
It impedes your growth.
It impedes your growth, and but it's not something I'm completely against marijuana. Like, when I'm old and if I have aches and pains, like, I'll be using like activated CBD completely for my brain, or for my body, and even my brain if I need it. But I'm not really, I'm not against it. I think there's some really, really great, especially for people that have, real issue, that epilepsy, that have cancer. There's some really great, especially, I mean, there's like 200 plus compounds of THC that we don't even know, like that can't even be studied. Like it's a very powerful drug. It's a very important drug, and it's great that it exists. But
But
for
you're
me to
saying
be
to use it
successful,
for a coping mechanism
to use it for a
is,
coping
and
mechanism
for you to be
is detrimental.
successful,
It can be
you want to
detrimental.
be free from using marijuana. That
Right.
is a great place for us to end. And I so appreciate you sharing
You
your
think we should end that?
story.
Okay.
Great job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, but I do want to say the psychosis played into my brain being in a bit of a scrambled state throughout those years, before I started getting pretty narrow with everything. Just getting away from it is being in a funk. I was in a complete mental funk, and I knew it, but I didn't remember it. I knew that it was
I
going
could
to
see
happen.
that.
I could feel it was happening, and nobody could help me, and I couldn't even help myself until I stopped smoking. And just within the past year and a half, it's been for me to actually get off of it, to get out of that funk.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for episode 6 of Family Business. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening to my story, and part of the reason why I'm so interested in continuing a process and helping people, and it's been great to be able to talk about this stuff, because it's important. There's people out there that can really utilize this information, and at least it's food for thought. At least it's something to consider, because if I
Definitely.
dealt with it and I pushed through it, you can too. There's help out there. There's some great resources. Please get in touch with Dr. Mary Wansley or myself, and if you'd like to know more. Thank you so much. Have a great day.